What if you were never born into hypnosis, flickering blue screens cradling you before the arms of your own mother could? What if your first lullabies were not coded by algorithms, but sung by the earth herself? What if no subliminal spell ever dimmed the sovereign glow of your newborn spirit? Imagine the first breath you ever took, anointed by living air, charged with the memory of the stars, rather than seized by contracts and codes. What if your placenta was never confiscated, never labeled medical waste, but returned to you as the covenant it always was, the bridge between your cosmic origin and your earthly vessel? What if you grew in a world where the umbilical cord of spirit was never cut? What if water still carried its ancient codes, crystalline, electric, alive, instead of being filtered through pipes and lead and laws of profit? What if the bread you broke with your kin came from a living soil full of minerals, full of story, full of sun, and never from the neurotoxic cauldrons of corporate labs? What if the air itself still sang the songs of forests instead of the exhaust of machines engineered to accelerate your aging? What if power was never privatized and free energy still flowed like wind and tide, silent, infinite, and unmetered? What if no invisible hands scripted wars for profit, no socio or psychopath staged scarcity as theater? No economies were built upon famine and false flags. What if the songs you heard were still angelic harmonies, frequencies that mended the rift in your aura instead of exploiting it? What if your body was always an instrument of the Most High rather than a receiver of static? What if music still tuned you to remembrance instead of bending you into compliance? What if time itself had never been chopped into industrial segments, seconds, deadlines, shift bells? Just instead you would move with the breath of the seasons, aligned with the cosmic pulse rather than the calendar of conquest? What if you never needed a weekend to escape your weekday because every day was holy, every work was ritual, and learning was joy? What if history had not been rewritten, maps not inverted, gods never masked as demons, and demons never crowned as idols? What if the names of your ancestors were never buried under native, colored, or other, but spoken like thunder in every gathering? What if you were still raised inside a living culture of initiation, storytelling, and sacred labor, instead of a school of forgetting? What if stillness was never stolen from you, and you could sit in silence without the noise of a world designed to distract? What if every breath drew you deeper into your own origin, and meditation was as natural as waking from sleep? What if the true temple was your awareness, each layer of focus opening into a greater strength, a greater clarity, and a greater peace? What if discipline was not punishment but liberation, the art of mastering your impulses, shaping your destiny, and becoming sovereign within? What if you were taught from childhood that self-knowledge is the highest science, and by knowing yourself, you can unlock the codes of the universe itself? What if you never really died, but only shifted rooms in a house without walls, and remembered the multi-dimensional supreme being you already are? What if your memories were never taken, no amnesia ever settled over your eyes, and you could still see the entire map of your incarnations at once? What if you awoke tomorrow and recalled every skill, every language, every power you've ever carried across lifetimes, and realized the world around you was waiting for that version of you to return? What if death was not an ending but a change of costume, and every past life was a page in your own epic? What if you recognize yourself as the architect, not the victim? What if no one ever told you were small? What if you had always remembered you were one people, children of the sun, keepers of the sacred flame? Picture a world where every birth is welcome with ceremony, every elder is a living library, every artist is a healer, every child is protected from spells of envy and comparison. Picture a world where your tongue still carries your original language, where your songs repair DNA, where your food speaks to your cells like poetry. Picture walking barefoot on the land without fences, and the land recognizes you as kin. These aren't fantasies, these are memories, signals from a timeline you were severed from. Beneath the programming, beneath the toxic air and weaponized noise, beneath the contracts and the screens, you're still that being, still sovereign, electric, still luminous. What if, even after all the tampering, the spark of the Most High in you could not be deleted? What if every trauma you endured became a key, every lie you swallowed became compost for your awakening? What if you are, right now, the generation chosen to pierce the veil and retrieve the blueprint? Because if all the what-ifs I've spoken had been honored, you would already be walking as the original design. But even here, even now, with chemicals in the food and lies in the curriculum, with psychopaths scripting scarcity and music distorted into noise, Even here, your essence persists. Even here, your heart still knows its original rhythm. Your feet can still find a path back. The question is no longer what if. The question is, when will you remember? Because the moment you do, the hypnosis ends. The power grid of the parasitic mind collapses. You step out of the simulation, and the true world, the world that was always yours, begins again. And what if that moment was now?